Welcome, my friends, to the big program here, Starbase 80, and I'm your pal, Captain John. Hang on, that's an ugly shot. That is an ugly shot. Is there some way to make it? Come on, less ugly, less ugly. Okay, you know what? I know how to make this a less ugly shot. I know how to make this a gosh darn handsome shot. Let's bring in my number one. The man who fulfills the role of number ones all through Star Trek, and that would be the good-looking one. My Riker, ladies and gentlemen, it's Flobo Boy.
Too much pressure. Too much pressure. I don't know how to handle this.
Look, you're solving the problem just by being there.
I appreciate that, Captain. Starbase 80. Damn, Starbase 80 is back. And it's a whole new year, man. Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year. Holy cow. Yeah. It's a weird one, and I'm gonna warn everybody watching the show.
It's a weird one. It's only the second day. What are you talking about?
I mean, it's already a weird year. Flobo and I have done everything we could to get new gigs and have new projects going on, and we honestly thought, we had this conversation months ago, of like, when should we do Starbase 80? Because we were moving it out of its old time slot into a new one. And we both said, how about, because we're on the West Coast, Flobo and I, how about we go 11 a.m.? That's not going to interrupt anything. That's not going to interfere with anything. And now we both have projects going on that are basically breathing down the back of this show. What does that mean? It means that this show will still be a full show. We still have time to do the show, but we're not going to be slopping over doing hour and a half, 2-hour episodes like this guy. Not Mr. Boyce, but this guy.
I would never say two. No, nope, not me. Making it look good, Captain. Proceed.
Hey, man. Flobo, we are so you and I are going to be doing these shows for a while. It's going to be me and Flobo, and I, again, I try to make this introduction as easy as possible without like putting your business out on the streets. But
I have no business worth being on the street, but continue.
I just do like for people to know that you came to Star Trek what would be considered recently.
It's literally 3 years. Three years now. The first Star Trek I actually cared about was Discovery. Like, as a kid, you would hear things, you would see episodes here and there. But the first time I sat down and understood characters and arcs and what Starfleet was Discovery. So I'm kind of in a way going backwards, but at the same time, I'm going forwards, baby. You know how it is. Yeah. I'm bringing all the postmodern Star Trek criticism.
Absolutely. To it, so. And what's fantastic is there's all kinds of people out there who joined in during Enterprise, who joined in during Deep Space Nine. So, I mean, who's been here the whole 50 years? Pretty much this guy. I mean, pretty much.
And you haven't quit yet. You haven't sat there and said, this is not my Star Trek, except for Lower Decks. Well,
I'll tell you what, I like Lower Decks. I'm afraid of watching the second season. The first season, I watched the first couple episodes, didn't like them, and then I liked it more as I watched it. And now I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to burn them. I don't want to not have them like in my bank. Yeah, but no, I do have to watch them. Everybody's telling me watch the.
I did it in 2 sittings. I put it that way. Watch 3 in a row, and go for a jog, run, holodeck, Dixon Hill thing, come back, and then watch the other 4. Yeah.
Well, it makes perfect sense. And I will do that. That'll be part of my, relaxation from all the other stuff I'm doing. Is I'm doing like crazy stuff right now outside of this, and trying to get out there and do some work. Let's get to this episode.
Let's do it.
I'm interrupting myself. I'm correcting myself. This episode from The Next Generation. Ooh, let me call up the old Memory Alpha page here. So this,
like how in the original series it was that one sound effect for everything.
Which is also the like, I drank something and now there's something wrong with it.
That poor sound designer's like, give him the sound.
And this episode actually won an Emmy for sound editing.
Oh, wow.
Who knew?
If anything, I would say it was visually the best episode I've seen TNG, but okay, this sounds pretty cool.
And really, just one of the highest regarded episodes. And that, of course, is Star Trek The Next Generation, Yesterday's Enterprise. It is from the third season. It's the 15th episode, so more than halfway through the third season. This episode follows some fairly significant episodes. It comes right before one of the incredibly significant episodes, Offspring, in which Data creates a daughter. He creates a child.
Oh, yeah.
That one comes right after this one.
Which always pays off in Picard. I watch that show too.
Exactly. And you gotta love that in their third season, they got a little more comfortable. They were always an expensive show. Paramount always had a time with Next Generation, trying to get it to pay off bigger, pay off faster, pay off now. By the third season, we are seeing some real, I would call it that they were connecting to themselves.
Right.
This is how I was thinking of it. And really, let's just cut right to the chase. This is the episode where Tasha Yar, who had been killed off in the first season, is suddenly on the show again.
Yes, she is. Justice for Tasha Yar. What?
And that is blowing some minds. And I'm very proud to tell you that this is the result of a lot of writers who worked on the show, chief among them, and I never give this guy credit for anything, Michael Piller, who were looking for ways to sort of strengthen the mythology of Next Generation. And part of that was to bring back Denise Crosby as Tasha Yar. And it was a really absolutely fascinating episode. Was this the first time you'd seen this episode, Flo?
I thought I saw it because I could tell you, I would swear to you at a bar trivia night that I watched TNG, but I don't remember this one at all. And I'm glad I did. My top level review is one of the best TNG episodes I've seen, and for three reasons. One, Tasha Yar is back. yeah. No, but the main two reasons is this: I'm a big Green Lantern fan, and I always say this all the time on all of our shows. As you can tell, I have both my pop toy of me and then my lantern in the back. Is about the mythology building. When we saw this time rift, I was thought back to the time of like the Prime Lanterns, the Alpha Lanterns, like when Jeff Johns took the property in the early 2000s and really built out the emotional spectrum. It really felt that was something more, especially with the Class C versus D thing. But on top of that, like visually, like a lot of times you watch these old episodes on these shows, no offense, John, but I have to temper my expectations for the series of what it is.
No,
usually it's either in the past or it's dirt cheap. But we have rack focuses or foci. We have two different interpretations with lighting of the same set. It really put me into the world. It reminded me of like being immersed in it like I am with shows like CSI. It was cool. So it was the first time in a long time I didn't approach it academically, like just as a fan, just watching it. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a there you go, Keith. Absolutely. Keith says, I remember my mind being blown when Tasha showed up. And really the question with Tasha Yar was always this. I think for me and a lot of fans. So you got rid of her, you just squashed her like a bug, she's gone. And are you going to pretend she was never around? And they didn't do that. There'd be little hints that she had been on the show. My favorite, of course, is that hologram that she makes for Data, that he basically, it's like one of his belongings, and it's just her kind of shyly like, do I just stand here? And I just loved it. I loved it. It was sweet and it was sentimental. And it also referenced, and we watched that one last week, The Naked Now, where the two of them, they got busy.
We don't know that. Maybe homeboy wanted conversation. Okay, maybe she wanted to be held.
Fever.
I have no idea.
Tasha's got robot fever.
Fully functional means the girlfriend-boyfriend experience. All right, just all the conversation to ask her about her day. Don't do it to me, John.
He brought her flowers just because, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think so. But, I like being sexy with it. Okay, so we had Ira Stephen Bear, Richard Manning, Hans Beimler, and Ronald D. Moore, all credited with the teleplay. The story came from Trent Christopher Ganino. He had written one script, and Eric Stillwell had written a different script. Those two scripts had been put together for this
Seems
one.
that way. Yeah.
Michael Piller, from what they say, Michael Piller did not put his name on the script because he couldn't, because of the union. They only allow 4 names at the most.
Mm-hmm.
So
4 names or 2 teams, I think. It's something weird, like is it 4 names or up to 6 names if they're part of 2 teams. It's like a weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, otherwise every producer is going to put his name on a script because producers mess with scripts all the time, and they'd be like, "I'm rewriting it."
Yeah, I mean, how many like GoFundMe's I produced? I give them $20. I'll be the most profitable producer in Hollywood.
You are a hell of a producer. I mean, really, I should be giving you credit for this show, honestly. So we had a lot of these great writers get together. There was also like a window of opportunity that was extremely small in order to get both Denise Crosby and the real hero of this episode, I would argue, and you could tell me I'm wrong, but Guinan, played by Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay, what was her schedule about? She's in the movies, I guess. It was the late 80s, early 90s.
Still doing movies at this point. Yeah,
but I mean, gotcha.
Garbage. She was doing garbage at this point.
Well, it's different because back then all the SNL castmates left off for greener pastures for movies. That was the future.
Right. And what was interesting was, if you'll excuse me skipping over to this, so Whoopi Goldberg joined Star Trek Next Generation in the 2nd season, and was kind of like a stunt casting thing from my standpoint as a fan, like Whoopi Goldberg. Okay. Yeah. And what was interesting to me was she was never playing anyone other than Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah. It's Whoopi in space.
She's just doing what she does.
It reminded me of Men in Black, where the whole gimmick is that these are normal people who just happen to be aliens. Remember Michael Jackson? I could be Agent M. Whatever, Mike.
Right. Hey, man, can I be in your space show? You're already in a space show, Michael.
Well, let me cut in real here, Captain. I actually looked it up here while you were talking about the writing credit thing. According to entertainmentlaw.uslegal.com, which sounds dope, right? Generally, credit for teleplay cannot be shared more than 2 writers. However, after credit arbitration, the names of 3 writers or names of 2 writing teams may be used. This limitation applies to all dramatic teleplays except multiple story teleplays, reviews, variety, and audience participation shows.
Interesting, because what I had seen too in the making of this one was that they really kind of wanted to turn the corner with this episode. And so they got all their guns out. They basically got all these really great writers who have written tremendous stuff, each one of them. And they jammed all their efforts into this one episode. Also, because the window of time was so small in order to get both Crosby and Whoopi Goldberg, they had to work really hard in just a few days. At the end of it, Ronald D. Moore, among other writers, had said, I had no idea if it was going to be a good episode because they just slapped so much stuff together.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things that, like, I'm glad I get to sit as a fan and watch it visually. Yeah. But you're trying to, because I wasn't sure if this was going to be a mirror universe episode or a strict going through time episode, but it was like 4 through time, alternate dimension, also going back in time. That is a very tough needle to thread. And if it fell apart, we'd have been like, remember that one time where they brought Tasha back for no reason? Ugh, it was the worst.
I think this goes to show how much they cared because really there's a lot of fan service in this one. And I'm never a person who uses the phrase fan service in a bad way. I love fan service. I think the relationship between a property and its fans is a great one. And when they're basically going, hey, remember this? Yeah, you like that, don't you? In this case, I'll just very quickly get us to the plot, which really is just one plot. I mean, there's kind of a B story going on, but not quite really. We'll talk about it. So there's this weird rift that's opening up. A ship is starting to come through. They watch the ship come through, and as the ship comes through, we watch them change.
Yeah.
And so the as Flobo mentioned before, the bridge of the Enterprise goes from being this very wide open, well lit rec room with a giant big screen TV
shuffleboard
into this dark, crowded, kind of cramped view of the bridge, and it's very foreboding, and for good reason, because the boating ain't good. At this point, they are a battleship. At this point, their uniforms are different, and they're all wearing these weird. I had to actually look this up. You know that weird strappy thing they're all wearing?
Yeah,
that's called a Sam Brown belt.
Oh, is Sam Brown somebody fashionable or?
No,
this is Sam Brown.
Sam Brown. I don't want to go too much into who he was because it's not a good story.
Confederate general, like what?
General Sir Sam Brown, VC, was a 19th century British Army officer. Who had lost his left arm to a sword cut during a battle. It made it extremely difficult for him to draw his sword. Because normally you use your left hand to hold the scabbard and your right hand to pull the sword out. He only had one arm. So he got this extra strap to hold the scabbard in place so that just a one-armed guy, he could just pull it out, the sword. And then they would add other things to the straps, other, sort of utility belt kind of thing.
That's absurd. Absolutely. Look, I lost an arm. I would have killed easily. Can you find some solution for me? How about you retire, Sam Brown? Jeez. Absurd.
I can't argue with any of that. I cannot argue with one word of that.
Oh, this is nicely, mate. Yes.
So they all have these sort of utility belts now, and they're all basically strapped, walking around on the Enterprise with guns on their hips. They were also using redesigned guns, phasers in this one, which is pretty cool. And that design would continue on. It is a fantastic looking episode because, and that's like kind of like sad that like if they make them super military, everything looks better.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's up with that? So we've got, hang on, let me pull up the notes here. Where are the notes? Are you the notes?
It's not me.
Oh, yeah. So the Enterprise C comes through. Enterprise C. They are the Enterprise D. We find out, I'm sort of skipping ahead. I will come back. We find out when Wesley, come on, man, I had this. Where is it? Oh, gosh darn it. I guess I did.
I like how you're losing notes about Wesley, huh? And Wesley, sorry, file not found. Woo! Because it wasn't important.
Wesley says, but the Enterprise C was destroyed with all hands. All hands were lost. And Data points out, they don't know that for a fact. Like, it just disappeared. They never really knew what happened to it. And so now they're dealing with, either it's been drifting all this time or it's come through a time portal, and it's Star Trek. So, of course, it's come through a time portal. It's like the opposite of Occam's razor. The most difficult explanation is the one.
A wizard did it.
So they are now dealing with having to I kind of love this. they have to decide whether or not they're going to tell Enterprise C anything about having gone through time.
Right.
And there's this great moment where Commander Riker calls sickbay to prepare emergency teams, and Picard basically says, "Belay that order."
Yes.
And then, tells him, "No, we're not going to mess with time. There are variables, and we're not going to let that be an issue right now." And he's really kind of snappy. He's kind of mean to Riker.
What's interesting for me is that belay that order to me is what TNG is about, right? So going through the original series and being like, "That's an adventure, let's go, damn it!" Having the first episode, the real pilot, of having the captain going like, "No, I disagree with you," to me is like the first thing I think about when I think of TNG. My Picard impression in the shower is belay that order for that reason. So it was cool to see that militarized and more surly, I guess. What he was telling Riker that.
Yeah, I mean, this is also I'm just saying this is a dork. I don't know for an absolute fact, but Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, had said very much that he wanted the Next Generation to not have conflict among the crew, and almost everybody involved with creating the show, and almost everybody in fandom goes, "That is stupid." I hear you. Hell, man. And so this whole sense on the show has been, if we could just get Roddenberry to let us tell the stories we want to tell. And I think we're at that point. I think season 3 especially shows us that Roddenberry has been pushed into the hallway. His desk is like in a broom closet now. And they have, they kind of have free reign, all these writers, all of these hardcore Star Trek writers, to put together a really interesting Star Trek Next Generation show. And it does reverberate through the rest of the series how, this conflict happens. Let's remember, too, that at the end of season 3, we get our first 2-part cliffhanger where, and it's called Best of Both Worlds, where Picard has been kidnapped by the Borg and changed into a Borg.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, he's gone. We don't even know if we're going to be able to get him back. So I love that the stakes are so high, and that's very much reflected in this episode.
It shows.
And so let me go on, but we do have to come back and talk about that teaser. Oh my God. All right, let's just talk about it now.
Let's do it.
One of my favorite scenes in Star Trek, period.
Uh-oh.
Worf's just sitting there in 10 forward, the bar, and Guinan brings him a drink, and he says, "What is it?" And she says, "Just try it." And he drinks it, and he goes, "A warrior's drink." And she goes, "It's from Earth. It's prune juice."
A lot of things are happening in that scene, man. That's how it starts. Like, well, okay, yesterday's Enterprise is about poop. What's going on, John? Why do you pick this episode? And then, like, how sad is that? Is the old seafarer captain sitting at the edge of the bar trying to regulate his internal pipes, be like, "I can bang anyone I want to."
That's not it at all. That is not it at all. It's she gives him a drink that is nasty. That's like my favorite thing. Like, why don't we drink prune juice all the time? Well, A, who's got all that time to go to the bathroom? But B, it's nasty.
It's oil. It's thick.
He loves it. He loves it. And yeah. And then she goes into the whole conversation with him about, like, why aren't you dating? And it's really funny, but true and informative, where he's like, most of the crew here wouldn't be able to survive my horny lovemaking.
I was like, well, Tasha, I could take a robot. I don't know about you, bro. I think you were just compensating.
Hey, man, if you've ever seen Deep Space Nine, the episodes where he and Jadzia Dax are getting busy, she is like, she's got busted ribs. she's got like a broken wrist. Like, that's some vigorous love making, is what I'm saying. We do know this is true,
right?
So it's a great little scene, and really, one of the things that I love about it is there's a great scene of, I mean, she makes him laugh basically, and he does the Klingon laugh, which I don't think we've ever seen him do on the series at this point. And I just love that. That's one of the best things about Klingons is that, like, like crazy warriors Viking laugh.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Viking laugh for sure.
Oh, I love it. I love it. What a great little scene it was. And they bookend it too. So there's a great little scene at the end of this episode with Guinan sitting down in the bar. And, and also it gives us the sense of who Guinan is. Guinan is not the ship's counselor, but she's sort of the unofficial counselor. And I was kind of thinking like, well, I mean, do they need two? But I guess you do, because with the ship's counselor, if you go, I don't know, I get horny every time I go past the phaser charger. It's like, oh, we got to put that in our notes.
Yeah, I feel like she was more like an internal thing, and what's her name was more of an external thing. You know what I mean? Craig in the chat. They need a better safety rule protocols. Oh, I'm ascending.
The word is Stovacore. Stova. Oh, we need a better safe word. It takes me forever to say Stovacore. So anyway,
gross.
That is a fine. I know we were laughing at it without me putting it on the screen. There we go. This is a wow. We got to end the episode soon. Cool. No, we're roaring right along though. Basically, things just get more complicated, and one of the things that is quite complicated about this is the Klingons are really beating the crap out of the Federation in this long, long war. Yeah. Billions of people have been killed in this war that comes from this new existence because the Enterprise C entered our time, or, Enterprise D's time. Also, they have no record of the Enterprise C fighting Romulans, which is why the Enterprise C got blown into the future. Apparently, if you make just the right kind of explosion, you make a time window.
Duh. You didn't know that? I don't know.
So, if they go back, they will go back the very second after the second when they left. They will still be right in the middle of that battle, and they realize they are sending them to their deaths. That conversation creates one of those great Star Trek, what am I looking for? Dilemmas. And now we have a great scene, really, with Patrick Stewart and Whoopi Goldberg, where she's saying, this isn't right. Nothing should be like this right now. We need to send them back and fix this. Fix this.
Yeah.
And there is a wow.
It is interesting because I didn't think that. I mean, granted, there was some pushback, but I thought that was kind of easy that Picard just trusted Guinan, which means I guess that trust cuts through the time rift. Because if everyone's one thing and one person's saying it's wrong, the first thing you're going to say is, "Hey, go to sick bay, you loon." But Picard's like, I'll think about it.
Right. Yeah. And it's a there's a lot of tension. This Picard is he's a war-weary Picard. It does make sense, but man, he's just biting everybody's heads off. He's yelling at everybody. This is also a good indicator, because you know what I like to say, and I've been saying it maybe way too much. The thing about Star Trek is one of the greatest special effects is acting. And when you get your Patrick Stewart out there, your Royal Shakespeare Company trained genius on the stage, Patrick Stewart. I've actually seen a couple of plays that he's been in. I've seen 2 plays. He is just such a great actor, Patrick Stewart. Mm-hmm. And he really just turns on the intensity. And we also get that sense of how important Guinan is to him. She Flobo, she goes on the bridge.
True.
That hasn't happened up to this point on the series. And he's like, okay, let's go to the ready room and talk, because he trusts her. He knows that she's serious and that she's got powers. That's the other thing they keep talking about, is like her intuition.
Right.
You know, I've learned to trust her, philosophy. They're very careful about how they refer to her super alien powers, because she looks like a human. She's not a human. She's an El-Orium.
Right, exactly. And remember, we had a trivia question. I wasn't even sure. I was like, is she an alien? Like, I couldn't even guess her race. People.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about it. I'd also forgotten that we meet another person of her race, another El-Orian on Deep Space Nine, played by Chris Sarandon. He's playing an interstellar con man. Do you remember that at all?
I don't, but Chris Sarandon, eh?
Yeah. Not only that, but originally that character was supposed to be Guinan's son. Guinan's wayward son.
I'm glad I didn't make that happen. That's the only thing I realized about, because we were talking about this last week on Commander's Log, our sister show, about how many humanoid races are in the show. And so it's kind of funny. They're all one family on this one planet. Like, give me other people, give me other aspects and things like other neighborhoods.
Yeah. No, one of the things I always loved, I think I've dropped this on this show before, but Tim
Drop
Russ.
it again.
Tim Russ, who plays Tuvok on Voyager. At one point, they'd said, do you think it's unusual that there would be black Vulcans? And he's like, well, Vulcan's a planet. It has 2 hemispheres. In the southern hemisphere, people's melanin kicks in. So, no, I don't think it's unusual at all.
Dave, hit it with the signs, Tuvok. What?
World star. So, man, look at us. Like we're like nostalgic for 10 years ago.
I know. The good old days.
So, moving forward, we meet Castillo, who's a lieutenant on Enterprise C, and he's working very closely with Tasha Yar and Flobo. How do you feel about our man Castillo? His mother calls him Richard.
You know what breaks my heart more than Armis? What can I do about it? This guy was fine. I mean, it was a decent role. I understand the role, but that guy's face is just so punchable.
And Shooter McGavin is probably the best known role I can imagine that most people would know. Christopher McDonald, who plays Castillo.
Castillo's great. McGavin can suck it. Sorry about that. I was just already so angry about what happened is that I jumped over to McGavin, but you're right.
And I've always loved him as an actor. Very funny. He really does play that mean, rich, privileged white guy extremely well.
Yeah.
Do not do what I did preparing for the show and go look for pictures of him.
Oh.
Because almost all of them are from DUIs.
Oh, yikes.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I just want to take this moment here to apologize to Castillo. She had a thankless role. She was amazing. It's sad to be her. I'm sorry I jumped the gun, but yeah, punch my face at McGavin.
We've got okay, let's see. Not that. I was so good I made notes, but I'm not good because I'm not paying any attention to them. And,
who needs notes, man?
They do eventually explain to everybody on the Enterprise C that they have traveled through time. It's kind of blowing their minds. And now they're in this dilemma of their own of, do they want to go back to time? And they have several. This is one of those great things where about having so many writers is so many ideas are flying around and they're just like processing through them and basically going, nope. Can we give them better guns and send them back? No, that would change the timeline. Can they stay? No, that would change the timeline. Can the Enterprise D go back and fight with them because they could easily beat the Romulans that are killing them. No, that would change the timeline. And that brings us to an interesting observation. Very interesting observation. Data's got a lot of them in this episode.
Yeah, he does.
One of the observations is Guinan's race experiences time differently from other races. So that's why she knows there's something wrong. And that answers the question, why are we listening to a bartender about what to do and what our situation is?
But hey, buddy, we need to be doing this.
She's got a very unique perspective, and they are respecting that, and they are looking at that, and they're right to do it. One of the other observations is there were peace talks that were planned between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. In the changed timeline for the Enterprise D, where Tasha Yar still lives and still is on the Enterprise, that never happened. There was never a peace treaty. There was never a cooperation. And that's one reason why Worf is not on the bridge, because Worf is not part of the Federation.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, in the original script, the writers had pitched the idea that the Klingon who demands at the end of the episode that they surrender and prepare to be boarded, originally that was going to be Worf.
Oh, that'd have been cool.
Wouldn't that have been cool? Why didn't they do that?
Yeah.
It's like one voiceover session for Michael Dorn. He could have done it on the set, just talking into a boom mic. They do that all the time.
Oh, man. That's a missed opportunity. That is money left on the table. That action figure would have been...
Right? And as much as I love this episode, there are still things that got, ended up on the cutting room floor. So we know that they really should go back. And there are a lot of people, to the credit, and it's very Enterprise. To the credit of the Enterprise C, there are a lot of people who are like, I just don't like running from a fight. Even if we're going to get killed, we should go back. The premise being that if a Federation ship is destroyed by Romulans as the Federation ship tries to protect a Klingon outpost and save Klingon lives, the Klingons will see those deaths of the Enterprise C as honorable, and that will make them want to join the Federation.
That was the best constructed cop-out I've ever seen. I was like, what? I guess it makes sense. All right, but still.
Oh, shoot. Well, I mean, what I loved about that is that you had a you had a little bit of lore firming up more and more as we go along what the Klingon code of warrior honor is, and how Klingons perceive battle, and they love battle. They want to die in battle. They respect people who die in battle. They respect violence. And it's very un-Federation to be like that. So as we follow Worf's story, which gets really, really more complicated and more important in season 3, which is fantastic. Another reason why I love the show. Right. Because I loved all the Klingons, the way they handled the Klingons as Next Generation went on and on. This does make a lot of sense. I mean, is it a cop-out? I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you, Flopo. It could be a cop-out.
Well, I think the net positive for me, and I'm sure we're going to go into the whole Tasha Yar thing, but like, you gave her a reason to write her timeline, right? And even though she said a very similar script to what she was doing before, everything had more weight here. Like even her NCC 1701 Class C was like right out of the school of William Shatner acting, but like, man, you can really feel she feels like something to do, some nuance, instead of being like, you're right, Captain. Hi, sir. That's pretty cool.
We had a hang on. This is so bad with me just calling up Like, I'm just reading my notes. This is not how I want to do this in the future. Michael Pillar says about this episode, this was a classic episode. I never met Denise Crosby in person. He joined the show after she was gone. But I sure was and am an admirer. She did a great job for us. And that was just about as neat a show as we could do. It was as entertaining and unique a time travel show as you'll ever see. Very true. As you pointed out earlier, Flobo, this is the closest they ever came to a mirror universe episode where you get to see a different version of what this Enterprise is. Another thing that Michael Pillar says is, I don't know that there was a better episode in the third season. Hell, Picard sends 125 people back to their death on the word of a bartender.
Yeah, it's true. He's right, All right.
Come on, that's hard. And I give credit to the director and the cast and the people who produced it. The script was not one of the best scripts we wrote that season. Conceptually, it was marvelous, coming out of the heads of some of the best people here. But there are little holes in the episode that we couldn't fix. Little tiny things. I would like to point out one. In the very last episode, they've gotten the Enterprise C through the time portal, and everything just magically comes back to where it is.
Okay.
And they go to Guinan, and Guinan's like, groovy. Okay. Yeah, this is how we want it. Like, she actually calls the bridge, and she's like, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, bartender, is everything okay with you?
That was the best scene ever. Picard's like, what? Why are you calling me at work? Hi.
I love that. And then she sits down. Okay, so here's the thing. I never knew this until I read this. She sits down with Geordi, and she gives him a drink, and she says, tell me about Tasha Yar. Geordi is wearing the uniform from the alternate universe.
Oh.
Huge mistake. Different uniform. Huge mistake.
Or was it?
I also need to go back and talk about that big battle scene right before the Enterprise C goes in, and that's just good, like, action adventure writing, where basically everything's blowing up at the last minute until it's okay. So they're getting smashed. They're getting hit by these Klingon battle cruisers, and things blow up, and Riker is killed in an absolutely brutal, bloody way. And, he's all opened up. He's all torn up. In the original script, not only does that happen, Data gets electrocuted, and Wesley Crusher gets decapitated.
Whew!
They wrote that in.
Just in time for Halloween? Why would you? All right, whatever. That's cool.
How crazy is that?
I don't feel so good.
I mean, is this the beginning of the, we're serious about Shut Up, Wesley? We are so serious.
Oh, yeah. Again, one of the most unexpected things watching it the first time, but totally worth it.
So, we had a lot of violence, a lot of doom and gloom in this episode. And again, I'm not sure that's something that Roddenberry would have allowed. I'm not sure he would have let you see crew members die right in front of your eyes. No. Let me ask you, Flobo.
What's up?
After you see this episode, and so Tasha's gone. Tasha went on the sea, so she's just gone.
Yeah, bye.
And in many
new
ways,
boyfriend.
Damn you, Shooter McGavin! This really kind of serves the fans in the sense of it was a very sad, very pathetic death that Tasha Yar had in season 1. She now has this incredibly heroic death in this one. Flobo, as one of the biggest Tasha Yar fans I've ever met, and I have to tell you, working on this with you has made me a huge Tasha Yar fan.
Yeah,
absolutely love her now. How did you feel by the time we got to the end of this one?
That was always my thing. Like when you sign up to any kind of military, which Starfleet is kind of military, death is part of it. Same with the Green Lantern Corps. It wasn't so much of being shot by Armis. It was everyone kind of gave up and was like, yeah, she's dead. It's very Pooch the dog. My planet needs me. So her going, I'm going to make this decision to either write the timeline or to help out my new boyfriend. Her motivations are numerous, which makes it cool, but the decision's the same. At least I would say if I never saw that character again, which isn't true, but if I never saw that character again, that makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah. And at that point, I don't think they thought they were going to bring her back. From the best I can tell, is the writers were very, very pleased that they were able to give her this really honorable death, this really terrific, heroic send-off. But I'm not sure. That is a deep
I have to go now.
Yeah, Poochie was from another planet. That is a deep Simpsons cut right there.
He was killed on the way back to his home planet. Hey!
To the extreme. So, I mean, hey, when I was watching this originally, and this is the first time I've seen it since the 80s, or was it the 90s? What year was this? This is the first time I'd watched it. In February 19th, 1990 was when they aired this the first time. Ooh. And I knew that she had been written off the show. I knew that she was long gone. It blew my mind they brought her back, because how often does a show ever admit it made a mistake?
Yeah. It's just kind of a weird thing, but like I look at CSI Miami, which is not really a sci-fi show at all. It kind of is. When they killed off Tim Speedle, he got shot on the spoiler alert. He got shot in the line of duty. But the thing about Speedle was 2 times he used his gun on that show. Both times it misfired because he's never cleaned his gun. And as a fan, you're like, what kind of cop does that mistake twice? And so you kind of wish he came back, and he kind of came back in a dream sequence. And it wasn't the same thing, but it was enough to say, hey, look, he's still helping out people afterwards. I think that's what Tasha Yar was. She didn't have to do much. She could have just been in someone's fever dream. We'd have been like, whoo. But the fact she came back, she actually had lines, they had merit. She actually put herself in the plot of the week, was more than anyone can ask for.
Yeah. And a really terrific beginning to another series of stories. And we've been spending a bit of time on Next Generation, so I don't think we're going to be doing another TNG next week. But we do have to come back at some point to what happened after that, because there is more to the Tasha Yar story. And
it better be
good. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, dude. It is good. It actually starts off. So this is season 3. At the beginning of, I think it's the beginning of season 4, we get a little more. We get another taste.
So. We're going to start talking like Darmok, right? Tasha Yar, Starbase lady. Arms wide open. And I get references now. It's great.
I'm telling you, Darmok is just gold. Darmok is just a big bag with a $sign on it. It is just Darmok is one of my favorite things about Star Trek ever. Okay, and I think I'm wrong. Actually, I think that goes from the end of season 4 to the end of the beginning of season 5. Anyway, I'm an old stoner. Don't listen to anything I say and hope for accuracy. We are done. We're done with this episode. Mr. Boyce, thank you so much. Do you have any items on your notepad that you would like to share with the class?
Oh, yeah, totally. So an alternate path, Enterprise D meets a predecessor ship, trippy, and would probably confuse many a new fan like this guy, which lead me to open the tab. How many Enterprises were there? 8 of them? And that's not even counting the mirror universe? Forget it.
It's the most blowy up ship in the whole Starfleet. That ship blows up like crazy. Why would you keep naming them?
No, this one would be different. It's like an Acme product at this point. What's with the 1970s pocket flashlights? Are they Walmart's in Starfleet? What's over there?
They didn't know you would have a flashlight on your phone eventually.
I know. TKL rations? I would never do that. Damn, I'd rather be fat than armed. Vote for me, Flo B to a 2024. alternate Picard is kind of a dick. We talked about that.
Yeah.
My favorite quote was from Guinan, which I want to use on Tinder. We weren't meant to know each other at all, which is pretty cool. Why does Chris McDonald look like he has 4 bombs planted in the city at the same time and believes Superman can't save everyone? And finally, is Geordi not good enough for prune juice? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know.
Geordi, you know what? We probably missed the part where she's like, Geordi, are you regular? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, okay, not prune juice. I'll get you something else.
Not prune juice. Klingon ale.
Any tabs you want to share with the
So
class?
before we went live, we're talking about those Turtles Ooze pies from Hostess. So that's going to be open up. See if they're available on Amazon. Just the TV writing thing. Klingon mating rituals. Picard Borg cosplay on Google. Do that afterwards. That 8 ships that got blown up from the Enterprise. I learned that the hard way. And finally, the NX-01 from the Mirror Universe. We're gonna learn more about that after this.
Oh, that's such a great one. Oh, that is such a great one. The Enterprise really sunk their teeth into Mirror Universe. Hey man, if you want, well, it's a 2-parter. We can do that 2 weeks in a row.
Why not?
A lot of fun. All right, yeah. Okay, next week we're going to start that Mirror Universe storyline from Enterprise. I love it. One of my favorite shows. Thank you so much for being with us. Flobo, this is us getting out early. We're on time.
Hey, I'll take it. I bring the Hostess pies, to bring the Walmart flashlights. It'd be a good time. It'd be great.
We touched all the important bases. Thank you so much for being with us. Next week, 2 p.m. on the East Coast, 11 a.m. on the West Coast. Until then, get it, baby. Won't you live long and prosper?
My Klingon safe word is Takuma.
Mine is Denobian Razor Beast.